fish!
Hi, I'm Brad Knowles, producer of Friday Night Flies, hosted by Scott LeBoldus and Scotty Holmes. Enjoy the show.
It's Friday night. You know what that means. It's chum salmon and coho salmon season in the Pacific Northwest, and I think they call us the South Coast.
Yeah.
Kind of doesn't make any sense, but I guess if you're from Alaska, they're probably like, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, being that we're the South Coast, Pacific South Coast. So anyhow, that being said, we've just recently got hit by a damn tsunami, and the rivers are kind of blowing out. So what do? You sit at home, look out the window, and just be happy that you're not out there fishing while the river's raging. Like it's up in the trees right now. So the next few days looks like the weather's about to get a whole lot better, and the rivers are going to come back to hello fishing time. So in the meanwhile, I just kind of been drumming up a few different little ideas. Every guide has their guide fly, and today we're sharing with you my guide fly, which is pretty simple. I've got a whole bunch of different variations because, as you are well aware, this time of year the river can jump and it can fall overnight, and one day they like pink, the next day they like chartreuse. If I can get one of the cameramen to give me a hand here for 2 seconds, we can go downstairs and talk a little bit about some of the patterns that we're using. So if we go down to camera number 4, so we got this one.
Downstairs.
So that's a pink, black, and then some days you need a little bit more bling, a little bit more color in those dirty water days. So I use a variation of a few different things, but like I said, this is a guide fly, so you just try and keep it as simple as you can. So that there is tied with an ice yarn and chartreuse on the body. This one here, I went with a diamond braid, blue diamond braid, and a little bit of a thread under wrap with a black bucktail. Pretty simple. So I really haven't come up with a name for this fly, but by the time I post it on the intro web on our website, I'm sure we're going to come up with some clever name of some sort. So, you know, it was quiet in the store this morning, so we were like, yeah, let's do some video. And as soon as I turn the video camera on, everybody and their dog comes in. So there is a little bit of noise in the background. So I want to just talk a little bit about these hooks. These are Mustad 3/0 sprots. You really can't get these anymore anywhere, and if you can and you've got a line on these, you make sure you tell me about it. So the closest thing that I've come up with that's in comparison to that hook in size is a Mustad salmon hook. So I'm just going to show you guys quick here the comparison. Obviously there's an up and a down eye, but I mean it doesn't really matter when you're throwing a bead on it. The hook is a little bit deeper and it's got a little bit of a different bend. Length of the shank is very similar. So I mean, if you look here, we got a lot of noise in the background going on. Sorry for that, but so this hook that we're doing the comparison with is a Mustad. Here, I'll just turn we can get this. That's a 2/0. I've tied them on this, and I've also tied them on the 1/0. They are very comparable, and as usual, very, very sharp, very sticky. So we're gonna go to 350 denier and Superfly's Super Thread, and this is their green. So all you want to do is just kind of throw down some thread on the shaft and cover up that beautiful shank. This also gives the fly a little bit something to grit to. And I'm not too worried about it in the main shaft, but once you get to the bend of the shank here, this is where you're going to want to just make sure that they're stacked up real nice and pretty, because we leave that as a little bit of a green butt on our fly. I know the first guy that I showed this fly to, he's like, "You're throwing wire on a chum fly?" No, I'm not throwing wire on a chum fly.
you'd have to be crazy to throw expensive wire on a chum fly. So we're going to leave that last like 1/4 inch just exposed. Then we're going to go to this fantastic stuff from Superfly. This one might be difficult for you to get your hands on. It's called ice yarn, and that's a chartreuse, and all I'm using it as is a hot spot on your fly. I take it, it comes in these big spools. It's pretty fancy stuff, and you can brush it out. I'll show you here shortly. So you take a little chunk of this, about 1.5 inches long. Take that, and you just want to leave a little bit of a tail. So I'm just going to throw that up on top. And if I wasn't talking, you can tie these off really quick. You just want to make sure that it's anchored. At this point, take your little chunk of Velcro, and all I'm going to do is just buff that out and kind of fluff it up, and you'll see when that guy, it's totally uneven when, and you can see a lot of that stuff is really sparse, but if you hit that with UV light from a distance, you can see what happens to it from a distance. I made a great song about that. I'm going to listen to that later. So once we got that on the body or on the tail, we go over to something super easy to use. Everybody's familiar with chenilles nowadays, and this one is Superfly. What do they call this? Crystal chenille. This one is, it's not pink, it's the fuchsia. Same thing. Throw it up on top. That way you can kind of get the taper back to the head of the fly, and just lock it down and tie it right tight to the tail. At that point, you're going to run her back up to the front, and we're going to show you the aspect of this Montana Mongoose by Griffin, the true rotary vise, and how quick and easy this makes it. So I got my bobbin cradle off to the end here. We're going to just put this guy on top, and we're going to roll this guy forward, just kind of making sure that it's somewhat full. I mean, you're not going to spend too much time doing this stuff. The quicker you do it, the more flies you get done in the course of a day. And it's all about production when you're tying guide flies. All about production. And it's kind of nice to hand over a fly that you tied to your clients too. I know that most of my clients, they like that, man. It's just that extra 10% that we talk about, you know? Giving that little extra to your client. And it typically helps with the tips at the end of the day too, especially after they've lost about 5 or 6 of them. And you tell them how long it takes you to tie them. This, I wouldn't tell them that it takes me about a minute to tie when I've got everything spread out on the table, but to them, it's it could take you 10 days. So we got this guy, and what I'm doing is just working off a chunk of black bucktail from Superfly as well. So you just take a little chunk of that guy, cut her back, and I got this guy. You can see how much I got, and all you're going to do is just kind of pinch back up in it a little bit, pull some of that light fluffy stuff off the head that doesn't really do anything but fill a head, and you don't really want to make a big head, you want to make a wing. And then if you see anything that's really long, you just pop that guy back out of there, because then it starts looking real scraggly if you don't. So you want to match it up just a little bit shorter than the tail. Off the back, get your length right about there. Perfect. Cut her off, throw the tips away. Fire it up on top, and you want to just go past the end of the bead. Right there. Pinch it up into your fingers. Couple loose ones, and then get crazy on getting tight. You don't want this guy coming undone and losing all your hair. Okay, you're bound to lose a few. So at that point, pull some of the loose ones, make sure that it's all up on top, looking pretty. Pull some of those loose ones out of there. And all we're going to do is just kind of smoothen out that head a little bit. Give it a quick whip finish. Quick whip finish. Take your vise, make sure that you're getting this all nice and tight and cut off, because I'm going to show you the next step. I mean, most people would fish it just the way it is right here, but anybody that's fished with me knows that we catch nothing but giant fish, and the giant fish that we're fishing for right now are very toothy. And to protect this fly, we use this fantastic product from Solarez. Can you see that, cameraman? Solarez. That's the best UV resin on the market. Plain and simple. Made me a firm believer. So you take it with you. This has got the 4-ounce bottle because I tie lots. You can buy these pretty well anywhere. Any sporting goods or fly tying shop that has this stuff. But we carry it here at the shop in the 2-ounce bottle, and it comes with its own little applicator. It's pretty fancy stuff. And all you do is just walk it around the fly a little bit, cover up that thread, give it a couple seconds, roll it around, make sure it's pretty even, roll it back off the bottom of the fly a little bit, back up to the head. At that point, take your UV light from Superfly, give it a little bit of light, and then all I'm going to do is just give it a slow roll here just to make sure that it's cured evenly. And the thing is while you're using the UV products, they're going to cure as you're tying or fly fishing with them as the sunlight, but I mean that's tack free just the way it is. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a finished product. And I mean, once you get all your stuff spread out on your fly tying bench, you can pound these things off really quick. And this has been a very effective pattern for us. So we're going to go back up to the top camera here, and I believe Ethan's on his way in. Are we up there already? As you can see, I am Brad Knowles, Pemberton Fish Finder. If you want to put these flies to work, you know who to call. Brad at Pemberton Fish Finder. Our email is info@pembertonfishfinder.com, and if you have trouble spelling Pemberton Fish Finder, just go to flyfishing.tours. Same place, it'll take you right to me. And then book a fishing trip. We'll get out on the water, chase some of these big toothy buggers, the chum salmon and coho, and we'll get that reel screaming. And if you're not used to catching big fish like that, you're probably going to leave with a few bruises and scuffs on your hands from the reel spinning real hard. With the guides, it's kind of it's a bit funny watching people for the first time hook into a really big fish and watch the reel kind of wrap their fingers a bit. But once you get used to it, it's pretty straightforward. You just keep your fingers out of the reel when they're screaming up the line, and do a little bit more palming. But anyhow, that's our show for today, and Ethan should have a show for you here in a little bit. Thank you. Try the rest of the show. Bye.
Would like to thank the following sponsors: Superfly, Solarez, Chinook Wind Outfitters, Dr. Slick, Griffin, Stonefoe,